Hello and welcome to your GG Replay for Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. GG Replay is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday show where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for breaking gaming news.
Whoa.
Doesn't really rhyme. We're still working on the slogan here, but until we get it just right, I am Paul, and I'm joined as always by Matt. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Much better than I was yesterday. Yesterday I had a bit of an off day, but I'm feeling a lot better today. Got my bubbly here, making me
Hey, I love
bubbly.
that. Love it.
Real quick before we get into this, I want to make sure we let everyone know it's very likely that next week GG Replay is going to start going audio only, meaning it's not going to be a YouTube show anymore. It's only going to be on podcast feeds. Now, it should be on pretty much any podcast app that you have. If it's not on the one that you listen to podcasts, let us know either in the YouTube comments or ggreplayshow@gmail.com. But I want to let everyone know before we get too far into this that next week, so starting on Monday, it's very likely that GG Replay is going to be audio only going forward. Game Groofs is still going to be on YouTube, but GG Replay is going audio only.
Yeah, really good point, Matt. Love to, it's good to get everyone informed about that. Yeah. So if you go to, obviously, if you're on our YouTube and you're like, where's GG Replay? You can still like see our link to our website there, and that's going to have links to everything. But yeah, it's going to be something that's podcast feed only, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that kind of stuff. So yeah, good to know. Good to have it out there. It'll be cool. I think you'll notice some good production improvements in terms of our sound quality.
Yeah,
and
some
that kind of
audio
stuff
quality
too,
will go up.
which will be nice. So, and it'll save us a little bit of editing time when chances are most of you aren't looking at our faces anyway. All right. Well, before we get too far into things, just want to remind everyone that if you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, you can send those over to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below for at least this week so we can address them in the next episode. Matt, the reviews are in.
Yeah.
We have some interesting game reviews here. First off, we have Epic Chef. My first thought was like Epic Mealtime. I don't know if that's a dated reference, but that's what made me think of. It's a kind of a cooking RPG, like survival. Not really, but
kind of, yeah.
Like crafting, gathering. It's really interesting. I got a 73 on OpenCritic. It is out now. This game is pretty interesting. Art style is out there, right?
Yeah, it is. It's like a more cartooned up version of like a Minecraft almost.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I
the
think
cell shaded Minecraft.
Yeah, I think it's not bad. As far as like the actual game, I don't know, man. Like the thing with me is I hate cooking in real life, and I actually hate cooking in video games. Like it's funny. That's one of those things that just totally transfers over from real life because it's the same. It's the same for the same exact reason too. Because I'm spending all this time making food in real life or making food in the games, and the actual process of eating it is so much shorter, and that for some reason like that just pisses me off. I don't have the patience for it. Although I will say, I was gonna say eating actually gives you more benefits in video games, but you have to eat to live in real life. So maybe
the continuation of your life is probably important.
That's true. Yeah.
There's more of like an instant reward, I think, somewhat in video games where it's like, oh, hey, this is like going to progress you further on your task. And I guess
buff or something.
In life, you are progressed further on your task of continuing living by eating.
Yeah.
So that's important. Cooking is good for that. I will say there are ways to cheat your way around cooking in real life in ways that there are not in video games that are based around cooking. So you really have to cook in those games. So that's the issue here. But yeah, I will say doesn't super wow me. To be honest, like the gathering stuff looked kind of cool, but also I don't know if I think that's really, it seems strange in a cooking game to like go gather your own wood and stuff, cutting down trees and
to things. Like light your fire for your stove or something. So it's like the most farm to table cooking game you can possibly have.
Very macrobiotic. It has like, I mean, very Stardew, like a 3D Stardew. You like go to the town and you can interact with people. It has like a real time day and night cycle, and you have to make it sure you're back by night to go to sleep and start the next day over. And you're like doing everything in your little farm area. So it really does have like a kind of I mean, I'd say probably a worse, but also 3D Stardew kind of game vibe to it. So if that's something that's interesting to you, check out the review. There's definitely a few good ones out there, and it definitely seems unique. I mean, it takes a lot from other games, but I think overall, there's nothing quite like this.
There are some people out there who like this would be like their game. Like they would love this
Yeah.
game. They would totally be able to relax at the end of a tough day with this game, and that's awesome. It's not me, but I'm happy for the people who who would love this game.
Yeah. Real-time day and night cycles in a game like this stress not real time, but I mean like a day and night cycle that ticks by the hours,
Right.
stresses me out in
I
games like
agree.
this.
Yeah.
I really want to love Stardew, but like the fact that if I go to town and like the day kicks by and then I didn't harvest all my stuff and I'm like, what? I have to like run back and go to bed.
Right.
That stresses me out. I don't know what it is. So anyway, that's not for me. I'm moving on to something a little bit more mainstream, although probably not too far off in the general vibe. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This game came out. It's got a 78 on OpenCritic right now. That's fluctuating a little bit because the review embargo just dropped today. It is out on Friday, so pretty soon. This is an interesting release. So I mean, you can go back to Game Groofs, by the way, where we played Groofstradamus last week, and I predicted this would get an 88,
Ooh.
which is a pretty ridiculous score. I was like, I was like, I swear I guessed 78 on something, which is true. I did. It was not this game. And so actually, I think Mike was closest in this Groofstradamus at 83. But yeah, interesting. It's an interesting one. I mean. Platinum, they often don't remake the third game, right? But the third game in a Pokemon series is generally the refined one. But this one's interesting because the third game in Diamond and Pearl added Battle Frontier and really kind of changed, the end game and like for hardcore quote unquote Pokemon gamers, people
Hmm.
who were more
Yeah,
into like the gameplay strategic aspect of it.
that's true.
Um, and so Platinum is one of the more well-loved games in the series, and that's part of it. And so when we're doing Diamond and Pearl remade, they didn't put Battle Frontier in, they didn't put some other like quality of life improvements, which again, maybe you don't remake all of Platinum, but maybe some of those quality of life improvements could just kind of go part and parcel with a remake, right? So diehard fans seem kind of disappointed about that. I've seen a lot of people like Pokemon diehards on Reddit and other places kind of say in reviews say, listen, maybe just stick to playing Platinum on your 3DS or your DS or whatever. It's hard to get copies of those games though, right? So a lot of people are
Right.
saying like it might be worth emulating. I mean, if you legally, whatever. But also, it does seem good if you want a casual Pokemon game. Like it's not a bad game. I mean, the graphic update is nice if you're looking to get in and goof around on Pokemon. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah. It's fine. I will say I don't have like any nostalgia for Diamond and Pearl. That was the first gen where I dropped off, and then I came back.
It's the last gen I really played as like a kid, like as a younger person, like
Right.
before I came back as an adult, like a full adult. I played it when I was like
Okay.
15 or something. And but it was like as I was dropping off, I kind of played it and I beat it like once, like I got through the Elite Four, and I was like, nah.
Right. So, yeah, I played it much later. That's where I dropped off. I got back on the train. I think with either X and Y or Black and White 2 or something like that. And then I ended up playing Platinum or Pearl or something like that after. So I got to it eventually, but it wasn't at the time. So I don't have like that nostalgia for it. So for me, this is take it or leave it. It looks fine. It looks good
Mhm.
enough. I mean, but I'm not fiending for a Pokemon game right now. To be
Yeah.
honest, I played Sword and Shield a few years ago, and that was like enough to hold me over for a little while. And I don't even think that was a great Pokemon game. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great by any means.
It's not super well received in
It's
like the
not. No,
Pokemon
no, no.
community. Yeah.
And the it's funny. I bought a 3DS. I own a 3DS
Yeah.
just for Sun and Moon,
I
Ultra
mean, I
Sun.
I always used to buy Game Boys as a kid or like get Game Boys as gifts just for Pokemon. Like I never really ended up buying other games for my Game Boys. I just had whatever the newest Pokemon was.
And turns out the DS like really cramps my hands, so I barely even played that game. I wanted to because that one was pretty well received. A lot of people liked Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I think they were both called Ultra. And
Yeah.
maybe I'll get back to it at some point. My hands didn't shrink any, but maybe I'll just power through it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Sun and Moon too, because they had that kind of. This is another controversial thing. It's like really going around. This is mixed, but I feel like it's worth mentioning the shared experience stuff. So I mean, if you play with a Pokemon, like all your Pokemon get shared XP, including like Pokemon you're not even really using in your main. Like you can just kind of toss them in your sixth group, and and get a lot off that, which is fine. But a lot of people say Pokemon's a pretty easy game. It kind of like ruins the difficulty curve. I know that in some of the older ones, I think Sun and Moon it had a toggle, but in this game, it does not have a toggle, so you have to do shared experience. So that's a big thing that I think is putting off some of the diehards,
I
not
loved
having
it.
that
In Sword and
option.
Shield, I
I
loved it.
actually love it because I'm a noob, even for Pokemon, and I like it being kind of not easy, but I like that all my Pokemon kind of get something from playing, and also at the same time, I as a kid I was always that person who just had one. I just took my starter and made it really beefed up.
Right.
And I just brute forced my way through the entire game with that Pokemon until you get like your first legendary Pokemon like towards the end, and then I like had those two Pokemon. Um, but that was it. And so I think it's cool to have something that even me, who would only use one Pokemon, might encourage me to use my other Pokemon too.
Yeah, I was fine with the grind when I was a kid,
Yeah,
but as I got older playing Pokemon, I was just like, I just don't want to have to do this. So I love the
yeah,
XP share. I understand
yeah.
why people don't, especially purists, and when this wasn't a part of Diamond and Pearl to begin with. So I get that, but this is a like a chibi style remake, like Let's Go. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's a little different.
That's an interesting terminology to say, like a chibi style remake, but I feel like the original was also like a chibi style game, right? Like, I mean, it just was like
True,
uglier, right?
but like sprites, yeah. I
Yeah,
I, I
yeah,
guess that kind of makes sense actually. Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah.
right.
I feel like
Although,
there's none where they're really tall and lanky.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I don't know. It's just being pedantic now. All right, let's get into some actual stories for the day. We have some interesting ones to talk about. First off, in a surprise to not me at least, Saints Row will no longer release on the originally announced date of the 25th of February 2022. Instead, it will launch worldwide on the 23rd of August 2022. Now, this is a 6-month pushback. This is a
Yeah.
big thing. I was pretty much thinking this was going to be the case. I mean, I didn't think it was necessarily definitely going to get pushed back. I thought maybe a month or two. But when they announced this game out of nowhere, no one was really expecting this. There was some rumors like a week before, but this was kind of out of the blue. And there was mixed thoughts on the graphics, mixed thoughts on the game, whatever, whatever. But even then, they were like, "We're standing by this. We think this is a good vision." But they said it'll be out in 6 months. That felt pretty bullish to come out of the game. Not even we didn't even know it was existing. We didn't know anything. We thought Saints Row was probably dead, or at least for a long time was probably going to be dead. And then they come out and say, "Hey, the game's coming out in 6 months." Seems kind of crazy.
And we
What?
barely saw anything.
And we barely saw anything, which I feel like if it's coming out in 6 months, you'd think you might see something. And lo and behold, no. So, Matt, my question to you, do we think this is the right move? I mean, obviously, if the game's not done, then cool. That's fine. But also, just is it the right move to have announced it early, but then changed it? Or like, or is it maybe a good move, even if the game is kind of done, to get it out of that early spring, like that early late winter kind of thing, that February slot?
I mean, if they originally really thought that they could have got it done for a February release, then I think yeah, they had to announce the release date if it was 6 months out
Yeah.
for a multitude of reasons. But I think that this delay is a good move. No one is like clamoring for this game. No one is saying I need to play Saints Row right now. A lot of
Yep.
people I think are very content to wait, let them take their time so they can make a good, fun game, and then hopefully enjoy a good, fun Saints Row game, because that's kind of what we really want. And I don't think that people are mad about waiting for that. I think people are going to be really
Yep.
patient with this one.
I agree. I think people want to go right. There was definitely some backlash. Some people are wondering now if this is going to be because of the style or the cartooniness or the characters. Maybe they're going to go back and change a lot of stuff. I think 6 months wouldn't be enough for them to do something like that. I don't think that's really the push here. I think it's more about fine tuning it and making sure it's going to work and be the best version of what we saw, not something totally different than what we saw.
So yeah, Saints Row is one of those franchises where it was never like this crazy blow your mind game. It was just fun. So like
Hmm.
people are okay to just it comes when it comes, and hopefully it's a good time. If it's not a big deal, because no one's super hyping up Saints Row. And if it is really fun, then awesome. That's a great reboot of a franchise that we love, but don't necessarily hold in like some super high regard. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think all around this is just actually good news.
Here's a quick fan theory here, a tinfoil hat moment where I think I'm wondering if maybe they saw what happened with GTA,
Mm,
the trilogy definitive edition, and they went, not that there was anything to do with them, but more like, oh fuck, we might have a chance to like really come in because people are pissed at Rockstar.
yeah,
We might have a chance to like gain some notoriety as being like the good GTA, like you know what I mean, like the newest GTA kind of thing because they're nowhere near 6 and they have bad publicity right now with this thing. So maybe they were like, okay, we got to go back and make this a bigger game than we initially were planning because we have to like blow this out because we could like this could be our chance to beat GTA and become the new like de facto GTA game.
totally. That actually makes a lot of sense.
So definitely a lot of reasons. I think it was obviously a good choice. I don't want to get into a big long thing. This is something good for Game Groups, but just really fast. Are video game release dates meaningless now, Matt? Should we pay attention to them? So many games are getting announced and they're saying like, when we get these ones that are like 5 months out, 6 months out, you never heard of the game. And it's like, really? Like should we
Yeah.
even really worry about these dates at this point? Things keep getting pushed back and it ruins hype sometimes.
Maybe right now, yes, maybe. But I think you would have to ask the same question like, are movie release dates meaningless? Because how
Right.
many times has the new Bond movie been delayed? How many
That's
times
a
was
COVID
Tenet
thing though
delayed?
too,
Exactly.
right? I
But
think
that's
with
what I'm
gaming
saying.
it's different though because the COVID thing was you couldn't go to theaters and that was the big reason, right? Because they didn't want to lose that box office money.
Yeah, but
But with
gaming
this, it's like the
development
game is
cycles were
done,
affected
right?
by it.
Yeah, I understand, but I think it's different than like the reason wasn't that they couldn't film some of the movies. I mean, for some of them it was, but I think with Bond it was like they couldn't release it because the theaters weren't open. I mean, with this it's like I don't know. It's something to
Well,
think about though.
what's interesting is that is why The Last of Us Part 2 was initially delayed. It
Right,
was because they were like, people aren't going to be able to buy the game because you can't go to
right,
stores because everything is closed right now.
yeah.
So eventually, I think it only ended up being a month delay. I think they were just like, whatever, we're just going to do it. People will buy digitally or they'll buy stuff on Amazon, and
Amazon and yeah,
things were getting a little bit more like we had a little bit better of an idea of what was going on at that time. So people were more like, yeah, I can go to the store, buy this game, I'll be fine. But at the beginning of it, it was a lot scarier. All that to say, I do think that COVID affected development cycles. Early on, it definitely affected game releases, more so
for sure.
development cycles now. But you're right. I mean, movies are more of a go to the theater sort of thing. But I think we're still seeing this having an effect. But yeah, should they have put a release date on it? Unless they really were confident about it at the time and just aren't now for some reason. And maybe part of that is the backlash. Maybe they were confident, and the backlash, they were like, well, we need to work on some stuff. I think that could be it.
I just feel like yeah, we're seeing a lot less of like what I think we should be seeing, which is like spring 2022 or 2022 or something, right? And I think we're seeing
Right.
a lot of like dates lately. Like I think we're seeing a lot this in the last like cycle, Gamescom and some of the state of play stuff. We saw dates like specific
Yeah.
ones and not too far out, and we've already seen some of these shift. And I just wonder, like, I don't know. I guess it's a little bit of pedantry again here, but I'm just like it's kind of interesting to consider like should guys just stop setting specific dates? It's weird. Even with Halo, right? They shadow dropped the stuff, but like I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, let's move on. I'm just going forever here. Yakuza studio Ryu Ga Gotoku is working on a new franchise. They spoke to Famitsu this week. Studio director Masayoshi Yokoyama revealed that the studio is currently planning a game separate from the Yakuza or Judgment series. We know that Judgment's having some issues. Matt, you talked about this recently, right?
Yeah. We talked about this a little while ago when this stuff came out about how the main character in the Judgment series, the agency for that actor, was very upset about the game getting a PC release. A
Yes.
cultural thing. It's hard for us
Yeah.
to understand. And so because of that, they're in a big disagreement with Sega, and so it seems like we've probably seen the last of Judgment, which is what I said at the time. I said we've probably seen the last of Judgment because of this, which is sad because that was the sort of brawler spin-off that they were going to take
Yep.
from Yakuza, and Yakuza was going to go back more to its roots. So that sucks. But I guess, this is a good creative studio, so it's cool to see that they're working on something new as well. I mean, some new ideas from them, I think is a good thing. As much as we would love to see Judgment continue,
Yeah.
something new is not a bad thing from this studio. I mean, they're a good studio.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. They've made some great stuff. I think it has its own style, but it's all really amazing. I will say, just super quick, throw it in the fridge. Do you have any guess on what we're getting here? Do you think this is going to be kind of like in the vein of what we have, like organized crime, like Yakuza kind of stuff, but like a little bit, like not Judgment, but maybe something that like takes the place of Judgment potentially?
It's a great question. I will say, like, I have no idea,
I mean, no, same.
but I could see it being the same sort of gameplay as Judgment,
Yeah.
where it is a brawler and it's not necessarily in the Yakuza universe, but it is taking that place.
Yeah.
Maybe they go more silly than they even have been. Maybe they take, these games are always silly, but maybe they just go
Yeah.
full into that. I don't know, but they might also like the dichotomy of having, this story about the Yakuza, but there's also like this ridiculous stuff going on. Or you're going go karting and all this kind of.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's interesting that you mentioned that. I always thought that it was weird that like this whole thing with the Yakuza or the Judgment Star and their agency and that spelling doom for the series because I thought, well, why don't they just like hire someone else to play the character? Who cares? Like a different character or something. Who cares? But obviously, that's the flagship for them. This character is important. It's part of the series. That's what they want to do. But on the flip side, I think it makes sense that if they don't want to carry on like Judgment without that character and that actor, that's fine. But maybe they want to carry on like we were both kind of saying there, the spirit of Judgment, but change it enough that it doesn't feel like they're hollowing out what they did before without the original actor and things like that. So, yeah, very possible, very possible. Okay, let's get a little somber for a minute here. We're not going to dive too deep in, but I thought we should talk about it. Activision CEO Bobby Kotick. We had a lot of stuff come out. There was a thread. There was a thread on Twitter because the Wall Street Journal did a big investigation. They did a big article about it. Basically, we saw people coming forward who had worked for different things. A woman who worked for Sledgehammer, the Call of Duty studio, the Call of Duty, the Call of Duty-O, said she was, sexually assaulted twice by a supervisor and pressured to drink heavily. We saw horrible stories about Bobby Kotick like threatening the life of an employee on a voicemail that was like saved. Huge pay inequities as well. We saw like kind of the more of the real story behind what happened with Jen O'Neill, the former co-leader of Blizzard. Her and Mike Ybarra were both hired, but like Jen, I think was, as we all kind of assumed, was unfortunately like promoted to like a kind of like a tokenized, glass cliff position with pay inequities with Mike Ybarra, where she was paid less. In addition, like she even wrote letters to Activision within internally saying like she doesn't think that Activision upper management is taking this seriously are the ones to, I'm paraphrasing a lot of course, are the ones to really come in here and make the changes that are necessary to shift the company. So there's a lot going on right now, a lot of stuff coming out, more investigations. And then, of course, just an update today, PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan responded to basically Activision's response, where Activision said, Bobby Kotick did not know about these things, and because a lot of the allegations are about the fact that he knew a great deal, he knew most of what was going on here. In fact, there was, sorry, but just one specific instance I noticed where someone had actually, been brought through for HR, or HR recommended they be let go, they be fired because of sexual assault or harassment allegations, and Bobby Kotick actually specifically personally intervened to make sure that didn't happen. So there's a lot of stuff, and it's specifically on Kotick, which I mean, at a certain Anyway, so CEO Jim Ryan responded, this PlayStation CEO, to their statement. And basically just said, hey, we this doesn't seem good enough. This doesn't seem like you're taking this, seriously enough, or you're really the ones to, enact. I'm paraphrasing a lot. I don't have it right up in front of me here, but Yeah, it was pretty critical. It leads me to think it almost it gives me like a feeling like obviously they're not going to take Call of Duty off PlayStation, but there's almost this like little feeling that hey, you guys better get your shit in order because we're not going to work with you if you're openly contemptful here. Matt, what do you think of all this? Is it time for Bobby Kotick to go? Do you think he might actually go here? I think he might.
Before the letter from Jim Ryan, I would say he probably wasn't going to go.
Yep.
I talked about this before, but like Activision exists today because of Bobby Kotick, and so
Of course.
that's why the shareholders have been so loyal to him. Whether it's right or wrong, that's just the fact. That's why.
hmm Well,
So
even in their statement, most of what they talked about was profits and shareholder stuff too. Like
right,
it was an investment statement that they first made, but I mean, it's
right,
it's pretty telling of what's important.
right, and that's why the shareholders and the board and all that have been so loyal to him. Now, Jim Ryan coming out and saying something, I think, is a big deal because you
Yep.
have a CEO of their biggest partner company, probably,
Yeah, yeah,
saying this. I think that Jim Ryan's not going to be the last one to have a statement like this from a big company, a big CEO from a big company. He's not going to be the last one. It's just there's going to be more of these, and I think that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back on this.
yeah,
I think when the board members and the big time shareholders start seeing that this is now going to really affect partnerships specifically,
yeah,
I think that could really finally do Bobby Kotick in. Now, where does Blizzard go from there is going to be a really interesting thread to follow because
yeah,
he has been Activision Blizzard for so long. I mean, he
yeah.
is Activision Blizzard. So that is going to be something really interesting to follow. What kind of person do they bring in? Can this new person who they potentially bring in really rejuvenize things and fix things? And that's going to be, if that happens, it's going to be a very interesting story to follow. And I hope it does for many reasons at this point.
Sorry, just to I'll clear up here too, Matt, just because you actually did write specifically too. I just want to bring in that the co-studio head of Treyarch, Dan Bunting, um, resigned. This is the one. This is the experience you were talking about, right? Where HR wanted him
Yeah.
gone. Blizzard HR, Activision HR, but Kotick specifically personally blocked the decision. Now he has resigned following his inclusion in the reports here.
Yeah.
So, kind of a resign in disgrace here we have. So. Yeah, so there's a lot going on. I think this is pretty notable just because so much we've seen so far has kind of hinted a little bit at this Activision side of this, and this is really getting into more with Treyarch and Sledgehammer. We're really getting into the fact that this is an Activision thing. This is not just a Blizzard thing.
Yeah.
This is corporate. This is the whole enchilada. It's not just one studio or one division, right? So yeah, and a lot of it's being put on Kotick. I only worry a little bit that maybe too much of it is being put on Kotick. Not to say that he's blameless in any way, but just to say that I worry that this might put kind of a price on his head. He'll be gone. We'll put someone else in charge who might be someone recommended by Kotick. Obviously his opinion still matters to the shareholders. He just looks bad. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's possible we get some kind of puppet regime or just someone who's another version of him that's going to do the same kind of stuff. And then we're not going to really see much change because corporate culture, there's still so many different pieces of Activision and Blizzard that have these negative, toxic cultures. So I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. This is not my technical or educational forte, but I will say, yeah, this is. I don't know. I just feel like overnight it got 5 times worse than it already was.
It's going to
This
take
is
a massive, like whoever does come in after him, if he does go, because I still think I think it's likely if more stuff like Jim Ryan's letter comes out, but I still think we have a long way to go to get to that point still. But if he is ousted and someone new comes in, that person is going to have to, I mean, Activision Blizzard is going to have to look like a completely different company. I mean, there's
so
so much to
even if
clean.
even if they're going to be another Bobby Kotick, they have to make it look like it's very different
Yeah,
because there's no way
totally.
you can just But again, I worry that that's the case, that, Kotick will get, like, this golden parachute. He'll still have, a place in the ear of the company, and that kind of thing, and he's made enough money. But ultimately, everyone will we're not gonna see Jim Ryan complain about the new CEO until, like, new allegations come out 10 years from now, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
worried that's gonna happen. I really hope we don't get something like that, but we'll just have to keep following it. I probably spent too long in it, but it's just, it was a big one, just a big one. Really props to, Ben Fritz on Twitter, like putting all of the kind of highlights and screenshot a lot of the Wall Street Journal article for Twitter, which was really cool because it's super paywalled, and it's
Yeah.
great. It's great that he wanted the information out and wanted that to like reach a public audience, and so yeah, that was cool. All right, Matt, last big story of the day, and
Hmm.
it's not. I know we don't want to spend too long on this because this is something we're going to talk about on Game Brews with more people involved. But the Game Awards 2021 are coming up on December 8th, and now we have the Game of the Year. We have all the nominees announced for all the categories. And I think it's worth kind of going through some of the nominees, just kind of talking about interesting ones. I don't know, Matt, if you have any that really stood out to you. It's okay if you didn't prep anything crazy. But I was just noticing, I think it's worth mentioning the Game of the Year nominations, which are Deathloop, It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. Now, before we go any further, Matt, I think it's worth, you brought it up a bunch of times, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it again later, many times over the next few weeks. But nothing here really stands out. And you said it in Discord best when we were talking. There's been a lot of good games this year, but no great game, no obvious standout that's really rises above the rest. And looking at this list, it's interesting, right?
Yeah, it is it's like a 2019 all over again, which was a
Hmm.
year where it was a lot of good games, no great games. That's the year when Control won most Game of the Year award,
Right.
which is probably on par with something like a Deathloop or like a Ratchet and Clank or a
Yeah.
Returnal, which by the way isn't a
Not.
nominee for Game of the Year. Which yeah
Nope.
is probably a snub. I don't know if the Game Awards limits themselves at a certain amount. But if
I've seen
they
that brought up a lot though. Returnal being a snub, that's a big story here.
I have a hard time understanding how that's not listed amongst those other ones, but
Yep.
whatever, it is what it is. I don't know. I think a lot of people would actually argue that Returnal is Game of the Year, but it won't be
I
at the Game
think
Awards. I can tell you that.
nope, it won't be at the Game Awards.
As far as I haven't looked at the other nominations yet. I know we're going to do a
Yep,
prediction show in a couple
we are.
weeks. So obviously I'll be doing a lot of studying up before that, but I haven't really looked at anything other than the Game of the Year stuff yet. But you're right. It's a very interesting list. A lot of really good games. I would say they're all good. I would say they're all good games,
Yep.
but nothing great unless you take IGN's word for it on Deathloop. In which case, then it is great.
Yes. Yes. Just a couple noteworthy things I thought were kind of interesting. Returnal does show up in Best Game Direction, which is directly below Game of the Year.
Okay.
So I think that is kind of in a similar, sense there. But yeah, kind of a strange differentiation where they're talking more about the vision of the game, less than the experience. So it makes it feel as if almost like they're saying that the vibe for Returnal was a little bit better than the game. I don't know about that. Also, interesting stuff to see. Like best narrative includes Guardians of the Galaxy, which is pretty cool to see that in best narrative. And Life is Strange, the new Life is Strange, which is pretty cool. Also, shout out to a game I still haven't played, even though I was hyped for it for years. The Artful Escape is in
Oh
best art
yeah.
direction. It's on Game Pass. I swear I'm gonna get to it. I just saw so many people say it's not much of a game. There's a
Yeah.
few rhythm sections, but it's more of an experience. And I just haven't had the vibe, like the feeling to sit down and have that experience right now. But that's there.
I don't know what the Game Awards cutoff is, but I'm curious how close Halo Infinite would have been. I really don't think Halo Infinite has much of a chance of winning Game of the Year for next year. So if it had released a little bit earlier, I think it could have been one of the front runners.
I think it just won't have. I don't think. I think it could be as good. Well, there's so many good games next year. I think it could be good enough to be in this year if it had made the cutoff. It could
Hmm.
have been. It
Oh yeah,
depends. I think mainly on the campaign more than anything. I think if the campaign really does wow, when we get that kind of open world kind of weird, like taking out camps and using the grapple and doing all this really creative stuff, I think that could have gotten it. In the mix, but I think you're right. With next year and the lineup we're looking at, it's going to just be there's no chance. Also including the fact that everyone will have forgotten about it by then, so it just is going to lose all hype. Interesting thing too, I saw some people saying, Forza Horizon 5, interesting, we didn't see a lot of that. Did that miss the cutoff? It did not miss the cutoff. It's in best audio design, but not actually in any
Yeah,
other awards, which
that
is
should
kind
have
of
been a
interesting.
nominee for Game of the Year.
That's what some people say. I kind of here's the thing. Obviously, it was the highest scoring game on Metacritic, OpenCritic this year. 92 it was a huge score, but also, I mean, it's iterative. It's a reskin on the
Right,
same
true.
game. You don't see even if you had a really good Call of Duty, it's probably not going to show up on Game of the Year because it's just Call of Duty. I
Good
don't think
point.
that's really what they're going for. So now they do have like different ones. They have stuff like ongoing games, but that's more for not sequels, but more like these games as a service. So
Right.
Fortnite and Apex Legends and that kind of stuff. Warzone's in there though. Never know. Yeah, that's mostly it. Some cool performance stuff too. Erica Mori for Life is Strange is pretty awesome, and also both the main leads for Deathloop are in
Oh,
Best
good, good,
Performance.
good.
I think those are extremely well deserved.
How do you
Say what
pick
you will
between them?
about I know. Say what you will about Deathloop, but I will say the performances of those two main leads was, I would say, easily. I mean, I haven't played the game, I'll be honest, but I mean, from what I've looked at, those both easily seem like the standouts of the whole experience. So yeah, some really cool stuff. Interesting to see it. I think it's gonna be a really fun show. I'm really excited. Moving right on. Oh, and don't forget, you definitely want to check out Game Groofs because we are going to be doing prediction shows. It's not this week, right, Matt? We're going to do that closer to the show before the Game Awards, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be the episode that
December
comes out
5th,
on
I
December
think.
5th. Yeah.
Yeah. And we also will be, of course, we mentioned it before, but we haven't mentioned it recently. We're going to be streaming the Game Awards. We're going to be co-streaming. We're going to be doing it on Twitch. You don't want to miss it. You don't want to watch anyone else be doing it because we're going to be having a total blast. Probably more fun than a lot of other people. I'll tell you right now. It sounds like a Trump line. We're having, I swear, we'll have the most fun, more fun than anyone else. All right. Quick stories. We got to hit you with them because I've been burning the midnight oil today. Halo Infinite hit more than 270,000 concurrent players on Steam within 8 hours of release. That is pretty massive within 8 hours, especially considering it came out like midday. So, I mean, obviously, that gave people some time to get home, but not a lot of time to get home and play late into the night. So, kind of crazy on that front.
Yeah,
I mean, we were definitely playing
we
within 8 hours.
played. I wasn't
Yeah,
playing on Steam. I was playing on Xbox app.
I was playing on Steam because you could get it quicker on Steam. So that's where I just got it quicker to
Oh,
play midday.
really? Okay.
Yeah, so when they first announced it, it was like immediately on Steam, but it didn't quite immediately upload on like the
Oh,
Microsoft
okay.
app. I think like, it was probably within minutes, but I've just ran the Steam.
Yeah, I was playing on the Xbox app. I think Josh was that night as well. You and Mike were on Steam. I think Fave
Yeah,
was on Steam. So you,
yeah,
a little over half of our crew was in that 270,000.
yeah.
It's been really fun so far, and hopefully
A lot of fun.
after finishing this episode tonight, we can play some more.
Yeah, I'd love to rock some more Halo. One of the few things we didn't love was with the Battle Pass, which I think is, being
Yeah.
pretty critically, not critically, but I mean, yeah, a little bit. It's just being panned by the community right now because it's just too hard to get points to get leveled up. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Here's the thing. There's a couple ways you can take a look at this. They make you do certain challenges to level up, which are sometimes counterintuitive to the style of the game that you're playing. Getting certain amount of pistol kills when you're trying to play capture the flag. You don't really need to necessarily get killed or whatever the case is. But also, even then, even if you're okay with the challenges portion, which not everyone is, they also just don't give you enough points. Like it just you can like enough experience. Like you can play for hours and hours. I'm halfway through level 1 or something, and I played for like 4 hours. So I mean that's pretty ridiculous. I've seen a lot of people who played for like 8 hours. They're like maybe at level 4 of the battle pass, and you got to keep in mind, like, yeah, sure, the battle pass is going to last months, and maybe the idea was that they wanted it to last months and months and make it slow, but you have to have a certain reward center in your brain to go off, I think, and people are paying 13 in Canada, $10 in America to play it, and they want to get their gosh darn battle pass.
Yeah.
So, already we see 343 saying they're improving the battle pass. They're already considering what they're going to do, and I think by December 8th, when we get more maps, hey, Matt, you finally popped into. If anyone watching the video right now, Matt was out of focus for like 10 minutes, and they just popped in.
Yeah, my
Uh,
webcam is shit.
the all right, but yeah, but they're improving the battle pass. We already see there's going to be like a ton of new modes and things coming out on December 8th with the actual launch of the game of campaign and like the non-beta version of the multiplayer. So I'm sure we're going to see a lot of that. All right, moving on here. Follow up on the New World story because we did talk about the economy being shut down. I don't know if that's still up or not. I don't know. I didn't see if that's been fixed or not, but I will say New World has banned over 1,200 accounts who used duping exploits. This was obviously something we talked about on Monday, where players could just dupe pretty much any item, including like really rare items, and they could then sell on the player built economy because the entire economy is player run. And it totally hyperinflated and like messed up the entire game. So they shut down the economy, and I really didn't think they were going to go after that many people. But 1,200, it's like a pretty sizable number.
Yeah, they swung the old ban hammer.
Yeah,
1,200 is a lot. I feel like that's probably just the tip of the top, though. I feel like there were quite
I
a few
agree.
people who probably got away with some duping here
Yeah.
and there.
They shut down videos on YouTube and stuff because it was like super easy to do it. Like
Yeah.
they shut down, people could just share it on Twitter and YouTube, and people were just doing it all the time. So
The
I think
thing
there were
is,
probably more.
you had to have those items to be able to dupe them. So like
Yeah,
they were already expensive and rare items anyway. So
yeah.
yeah, I can totally see why there probably weren't even that many people who were able to do that.
They were probably duping like crappy items and then just selling a bunch of
Oh,
them, like
true.
flooding
Yeah.
the market, like the marketplace or whatever. I don't 100% know. But yeah, more little follow up there. Moving on, Xbox Cloud Gaming now available on Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One, so you can now finally play through the cloud on your console, which is cool because you could do it on pretty much everything else. Now, obviously, you say I already have the console. Why would I want to do that? I don't know, whole bunch of reasons. I'm not here to suppose why you might want to play a cloud game on your system. I think with Xbox One, the potential could be that it's something that you can't play on Xbox One. There are a few games that are Series S and X only. I guess you could cloud game those on an Xbox One, or maybe it would just run better like visually, but then
Right.
it would have lower FPS. I wouldn't recommend ever if you can play a game on your Xbox One. They wouldn't recommend ever streaming it on Xbox Series X instead for better graphics. That's so bad. But there you go. That is now an option for. I'm sure if you ggreplayshow@gmail.com. Write in if you can think of a good use case for this. I'm sure there are plenty that I'm not really thinking about because I don't care, but that they're there. Also, League of Legends, Riot, they are just listen, like they've launched Arcane and they are running to the end zone. Is that's a real thing with the ball? They're throwing it down. They're doing a dance.
Yeah.
I swear, they're doing a flash mob right now. Uh, this is they recently announced the rhythm game. Forget what it's
Hextech
called.
Mayhem.
Hextech Mayhem. I was gonna say Hextech something. And now people have been waiting a long time for Ruined King, a League of Legends story. They've been waiting a long time. Recently, they delayed it and didn't give it a release date. They didn't say what was going to happen, so people were kind of hoping that this week we might finally get a release date. Well, we got more than release date. We got a shadow drop. They announced the game is out. So that game is now out. In addition, so is Hextech Mayhem. So both these games came out on that day on Steam, which is and Epic Games, which is pretty friggin' crazy. This game looks pretty bomb. Now I'm forgetting this is on a lot of this is on like everything, right? Like PlayStation,
Yeah.
Xbox, Nintendo,
Yep.
PC, right? I say Switch, whatever, not Nintendo. Is it on the Nintendo?
Hmm.
And it looks pretty awesome. This is kind of their first real push. Now, this is not their game. This is a Riot Forge game, so this is like outsourced, which is I just learned about today, which is a thing where they have like third-party developers who get to work with the IP. They do all the marketing and a lot of like the QA and stuff. But they have other people make the games. And yeah, this is their first kind of hit at an RPG thing where you're really going through and like experiencing the story as the characters. What are you laughing about over there?
I'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, Matt, what do you like? I mean, this looks pretty bomb, right?
Yeah, so I actually kind of like what this game looks like, and I was gonna say that I wish it were on mobile because it reminds me of Battle Chasers Night War,
So
which
that's
is
what pretty much everyone in the world is saying. This is Battle Chasers, and they're hyped.
so here's what I was laughing at. It's the same dev,
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
why that's why it looks like Battle Chasers.
that's why everyone's talking about it. Yeah,
I
that makes
didn't
sense.
know that, so I hope eventually this comes to mobile because I think that's where I would want to play it, just like on the couch, just hanging out. I don't necessarily want. I know you can do that with the Switch. I don't want to. I just want to. I want a good. The thing is, I want a good mobile game, and this is something that I could play on mobile and be happy about. Maybe I
Yeah.
should just play Battle Chasers on mobile. But this is something that I'm somewhat interested in. I don't hate this kind of gameplay, and I want to learn more about the Runeterra universe. So this is
Yeah.
something I might actually look for, Paul.
Perfect. Definitely check it out. If you're looking to learn more about the Runeterra universe, there's a great show on Netflix right now called Arcane. You
I'm
should
gonna get to
definitely
it. There's so
check it
much I
out.
have to
The
watch.
last, the final 3 episodes drop on Saturday, and then you'll have the entire 9 episode run that you can watch if you want.
Perfect.
So maybe wait for that, but it's bomb. All right, and final little quick story of the day: Dragon Ball: The Breakers announcement trailer showed up. Now, normally, I would say unless it's like a big show, we don't talk about announcement trailers. But I just really wanted to talk about this because this is so funny. This is an asymmetric PvP game, like Evolve or Dead by Daylight, where one person plays as Cell from Dragon Ball, starting in like the larval state, and then gets
Yeah.
bigger and stronger and scarier. And the other characters are kind of like bit characters from Dragon Ball. Some of them are like random dudes, and also there's Bulma who can like do some techie stuff to get away. There's Oolong, like the pig dude who can turn himself into like inanimate objects, so he like turns into a lamp and like hopes that Cell doesn't see him. Honestly, like this looks delightful. It just looks like the exact feeling you get when you like take one of these horrifying things from because I mean Cell is one of the scarier, like the bit where he's like becoming stronger. He like kills an entire city of people by like sucking up their life
Yeah.
force. It's very scary if you're not like one of the main, Super Saiyan people. And so it's pretty hilarious to imagine like taking something so strong and terrifying like that and then being like a random person.
I have a feeling this game is gonna be janky as shit.
Oh God, yeah.
And I don't know, it's so weird, but I love that. Like, why would anyone ever think to make a Dragon Ball game
Why would
that's asymmetric PvP where you're playing as one person's playing as
Yeah.
Cell? It's so random, but maybe it'll work.
So
I don't know.
I love how random it is and creative because I just think no one else does this. And it's not just creative in the sense like it's Cell, but then you're just all random people. No, they have like the shape shifting with Oolong and they use like the tech with Bulma. And
Yeah,
like I guess some people are the androids, or I don't know what the thing is of that, but like it looks like Cell can like absorb people and then get more and more powerful, like becoming semi-perfect Cell, perfect Cell. Again, this is like DBZ
it's
nerd
so
stuff, but
weird.
it's really, really weird. And also, like most Dragon Ball games are either like replay the story or replay the story with what ifs in some kind of fighting game style, or like a janky RPG fighting game hybrid, or a gacha game. So it's really cool to see something completely different. I think this will be awesome when it goes for $5 on Steam at some point on sale.
Mhm.
We'll get the whole crew in. All right, Matt. Well, you know what? That is it for today's GG replay. Gosh, we went long, but there was just a lot of stuff today. I knew it going in. If you guys at home loved this show or this episode at least, we have a whole website, goodnightgroofs.com, goodnightgroofs.com, where you can check out this show, the Game Groofs podcast, the blog, and links to all of our socials. And if you're feeling super generous, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/goodnightgroofs, where the $3 plus tier can get you early access to our all-encompassing gaming podcasts, Game Groofs. Also, if you're checking this out on an audio podcast app, which soon will be the only way to check it out, so make sure you go subscribe. If you're listening to this on YouTube, go open your audio podcast app and subscribe on there. Also, feel free to give us a 5-star rating or a thumbs up or whatever is on there. We love to see it. It makes our day, helps us in the algorithm.
It's on like Spotify and stuff too. Like you can listen to it in a web browser too. So like if the
Okay.
main way that you listen to GG Replay is by just like listening to the YouTube video, you can still do that in a web browser on like Spotify or other podcast type services.
Yeah, for free on Spotify, like free tier, that all works as well. And also, yeah, if you feel like reviewing us, we would love to see it. We'll read reviews on air. We just love getting feedback. So awesome. Matt, you have anything else to say before we head out of here for the day?
Actually, just a PSA. Southern Fried Groofs episode 2 came out yesterday, and episode 3 Saturday, episode 4 the following Tuesday. So Saturday, Tuesday is the release schedule for Southern Fried Groofs. Great show, hilarious. Josh and Fabe do a great job. Mike does a fantastic job editing the show. Go check it out.
And Josh and Fave do a great job. Mike does a fantastic job, man. Just really like.
Well, you know,
I'm just joking.
The behind
like,
the scenes guy
he
gotta
does far more work than just like goofing around. But no, it's all hard work and it all paid off. It's really, really great. First episode got almost 100 views so far, which is great. Second episode is doing quite well as well. But you know, we want to keep up and keep strong, so definitely check it out if you have not. It's only 10 minutes and it's pretty freaking hilarious. All right, that is going to be it for today's GG replay for Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. Make sure to stop back in on Friday where we will have another episode for y'all. Until then, good night, Groofs.